Whales sell everything and will cause a catastrophe. In this video, we're going to analyze the long-term crypto outlook. Take a look at the Bitcoin chart on its daily time frame and how the price has recently retraced to test the breakout origin, a price structure that is truly relevant whenever we talk about advanced technical analysis. And we're not just going to look at Bitcoin. We'll also examine other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum, Cardano, Polkadot, Solana, BNB, Rune, Doge, among others, putting Bitcoin aside for now. You're currently viewing the Ethereum chart on its daily time frame. We're observing how after Ethereum's aggressive downward impulse, we're now working on a corrective pattern. If we talk theoretically, we'll say that every downward impulse has a corrective pattern that sooner or later will seek a replica in the same direction. Therefore, we're expecting in the crypto ecosystem, and this is no secret, that cryptocurrencies for the medium and long term tend to fall. In fact, in our view, they have already begun. So now, let's zoom in a bit and take a closer look at the Ethereum chart. We'll see that I've gone to look for the top of a macro bullish channel on it. They have, of course, generated a trap scenario. And now what we highly value is this strong downward impulse, as it could then be a warning of intentions. So, what could we expect from Ethereum? Well, it's prudent to think that the price, of course, may continue to correct upwards. In the end, we need a corrective pattern, and that at some point, presumably, who knows if they do it around the breakout origin, around $25, $27, they have enough strength to come and break important levels, which in a nutshell means that we will seek such a replica. So we would even break the bullish channel. And if you ask me, we would expect a market failure. Basically, that the downward impulse is not proportional. This is called a failure. So it's at this point when we can finally be optimistic and think that this macro bullish impulse has already had its corrective pattern. So we'll be ready to rise. Yes, we've been bearish in the crypto ecosystem, and it's no secret for several weeks now, if not more than a month. But beware, it's not a catastrophic view that cryptocurrencies will sink forever, but rather it's about paying attention to the price structure and understanding how financial markets move to establish coherent scenarios. Coherent scenarios like I'm going to show you with Cardano, but first, let me show you how. In previous videos, we were looking at smaller time frames, specifically the 1 hour time frame. We were looking for a continuation of the bearish trend for the market. And Cardano, considering that we're facing a market extreme for itself, of course, where these sellers who have distributed here and have generated a defensive zone that they wouldn't allow to be easily breached. So you can see if it was an extreme to start looking for such a correction that belongs to the replica of this downward impulse, which would have already had its correction, and now would seek such a replica. And returning to the daily time frame of Cardano, I've redrawn this bearish wedge for you not to lose perspective. And now you'll understand why. Remember that in Cardano, we're experiencing compression, a bearish wedge which any follower of Crypto Insights videos, before seeing the big bullish explosion, will recall that we were already looking for it, since the market tends to have these kinds of reactions to these kinds of structures. What are we going to highlight next? Well, here we have a strong bullish impulse, and we already know why. But what are we going to value now? Well, after a bullish impulse, we need a corrective pattern before continuing upwards. That's why we've been bearish on Cardano for weeks now. And now, we can tell you that we'll see what it does for the immediate term. Who knows if it looks up at us, but the goal will be to keep looking down, and all the time it will say how far they want to correct. But think that from this impulse, we'll need a corrective pattern that in the future will break its structure and allow us to look strongly upwards. Well, for those who always ask me about spot positions, I'll tell you that opportunities for re-entry in long positions will come in sometime for the entire crypto ecosystem. Basically because we expect declines before the big rise. And look, believe me when I tell you that you're not drunk. You're seeing Polkadot, which has a very similar structure. The same, before it broke the upward trend, we were already warning about it. This was going to tend to explode upwards. Well, cluster. Zooming in a bit, we see the same as with Cardano, a strong bullish impulse that is now working on the beginning of a corrective pattern. And if we go to the 1 hour time frame, when the price was around this point, we were considering the idea of taking short positions as this impulse was going to seek its downward replica. With Polkadot, more of the same. Here we have the large distribution. Here we have a defensive zone that the price, after coming down from making a downward impulse, has come to make its corrective pattern on the relevant structural zone, and now the price is reacting. Here, short positions will undoubtedly guide where to make them evident, but that does not mean that all these people will want to continue going down. Now you are seeing many examples of how to benefit from the market in the short term, in perhaps hourly timeframes, while at the same time we do a long-term technical analysis that draws us a map on a large scale. And now I'm going to share with you what we think will happen with Polkadot and Bitcoin. But before, welcome to Crypto Insight, your ethical and moral channel for cryptocurrency technical analysis. Here, we really know what we're talking about. We conduct advanced technical analysis that has been developed for over 12 years. We upload videos several times a week. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, let me know and leave a comment with your opinion. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell so you don't miss the next opportunity. Continuing with Polkadot, after seeing this strong bullish impulse, it is plausible that this micro-bearish impulse may have some kind of replica and invite us to look down. In the end, it will be a correction in which perhaps Polkadot, why not, comes to seek the origin of the breakout, thus making this entire range treated in its entirety. Well, in its entirety, it could be a macro-bullish accumulation process, so the time will come to look upwards in a somewhat stronger and aggressive way. Of course, the landing zone of the corrective pattern or the bearish path that we have been announcing for some time. You'll understand it's difficult to predict how far it will go. What do you mean? Jelenize. It could stay halfway or even exceed more than expected before rising. Remember, we don't have a crystal ball here, but don't worry. We'll update our analysis to try to get closer. As we usually do, what do you think the smart money is plotting to do with us? And looking at the Solana chart on its daily time frame, here you can see why the price has stopped where it has. Very similar to Cardano and Polkadot. We're dealing with a strong bullish impulse. A strong bullish impulse that I think you already know where it's headed. It would be totally plausible to expect some kind of reaction before continuing upwards. As I said, we're analyzing the long term and we're not looking for the perfect picture. Here we have a downward impulse. Now we can look for some kind of correction that may trigger the downward movement in the future. It will be difficult to know how far, very complicated, but we expect that downward movement before looking upwards. And look, BNB is a chart that I've shared with you before, which I've always considered to be in undeniable good health. In the end, here we have the strong bullish impulse, and the drop has always been defended around the $200 level, continuously. It seems like they have a contract with the devil that doesn't allow them to drop below that level, and the visual aspect that BNB enjoys has little to do with other altcoins that have depreciated much more aggressively in the bearish market. What have you done, Champeng Zhao? What have you done? So now, we're seeing how there's a bullish accumulation process here. It looks like it, and how recently we've experienced a strong bullish impulse. A bullish impulse that is being compressed against a ceiling, against a very relevant level that it makes sense to collapse at some point, to look downwards. And here is where we pose the question, where we ask you, or rather, we convey the question of how far will this crypto bearish movement go? Well, it seems highly plausible, on one hand, to see some kind of correction, something more moderate before breaking through and exploding. But of course, there's the possibility, depending on the strength and momentum that Bitcoin gathers, that we might see a sneaky, aggressive, bearish climactic action to liquidate. Ideal scenario, I can tell you in advance, to look for any spot purchases and then recover, break through the ceiling and explode upwards. As I said, we don't know how far it will fall, but we expect a fall before the rise. And here you're seeing the chart of Rune. Basically the same as Cardano and Polkadot. It experienced a wedge as extreme compression. As time went by, I guarantee you that Rune investors were disappearing. Smart money here aims to make retail interest disappear, and once they've been patiently buying massive amounts of money, they're ready to generate the desired movement. Here we're seeing a strong bullish impulse in Rune, which has already begun its bearish correction. We'll see if they want to go up first to then look for that replica and see if it gets out of hand or not. As I said, we don't know how far it will go, but the idea is to have a correction before looking for a continuation ahead. And here we have the Dogecoin chart, a cryptocurrency, a meme coin, visually unattractive. It serves as a proxy to understand what we can expect from the entire ecosystem. So here we could be experiencing a macro bullish accumulation process, which we just enjoyed a bullish impulse that is now having its corrective pattern. That corrective pattern may have its replica and may even extend to generate market traps, just like the example I mentioned in BNB before, breaking through the macro ceiling to go strongly upwards. Here, we'll see how far it drops. if it really makes that market trap or stays halfway. Remember, all this is a conceptual map. Let's not then look for the perfect picture, as in future videos we'll analyze the short and medium term to delve into detail and perhaps look for those precise drawings that you like so much. And regarding the Bitcoin chart, as you know, we're coming from a strong downward impulse that then the price has experienced its corrective pattern, and we're at that sweet moment. At that critical moment of asking ourselves if the price will start looking downwards. Frankly, and zooming in a bit, knowing that the price has come to seek the breakout origin, which has generated a market trap, which has already put a downward impulse on the table, which is now simply having its corrective pattern that we'll see how far it goes. There's already an announcement of a breakout intention that we'll see how, but sooner or later, it will tend to be pierced and will invite us to look downwards. And returning to a somewhat broader view, such a breakout could even take us to lower levels. Remember, we're looking for this bearish replica, and that doesn't imply that it will be achieved, as probably if it were, it would take the price to zero, which we don't consider. I'm emphasizing this because there are people who don't listen. We don't consider it. We think in any case of some kind of failure, a market error, that the replica doesn't happen, and that helps Bitcoin to finally be able to look upwards. Now, it's very important that you leave us your opinion in the comments. Do you think that for the medium term, as I'm showing you, we're bearish first and then bullish, or do you think we'll go straight to 120k in the next 2 or 3 months? It's an opinion, by the way, respectable, but let me know in the comments. Also, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell icon so that YouTube notifies you of future posts. And if you liked this advanced technical analysis, I'm sure both your friends and other trading or cryptocurrency communities would greatly appreciate it if you shared this video with them, so don't hesitate and do it. Good luck in your trading, and see you next time.